Yeah, we are live, and I brought someone with me today.
The cameraman. I'm the cameraman.
Oh, we have an audience of
See?
laughter. You hear that? They're even laughing at us.
It's comedy night.
So I wanted to actually bring Rod in on the shot. He's always the one behind the camera, and it's finally we're having him in front of the camera, getting a little bit to know more about him and us as a couple. So we just wanted to say hi, happy Sunday to everybody. Hope everyone's doing safe. And how awesome it was doing the live the other day and just hearing from everyone with questions. Hey, Miguel.
Miguel.
What's up, yo? And there were some really interesting topics and questions that were posed. And we just kind of wanted to go through that. Did you?
Yeah, I have some questions from last time, and in the future and now, if you want to have any questions down below you want to ask, we'll answer them on ongoing lives.
There we go.
Boom.
And we're actually there were some really good topics, and I've been getting a lot of feedback from the topics. And you have one that you want to share with us?
Someone's commented. They said something. Let me pull it up.
I can't scroll and see them, so I can only see it for a brief period when I pop up. You guys do like the hair, right? It is pretty fun.
Lava.
Hot pink, and I got to show you what it does in the with black light, like it glows in the dark. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It's one way to keep my spirits up, that's for sure. But you were going to ask me something, Rod.
Yes. I had to get my internet going here to pull it back up again.
We have an audience of laughter. These ducks are like,
you laughing at me? Yeah, we had a question. Oh, someone said I wear not attractive clothes so people don't see me and myself, and don't like my photo to be taken as though my head does not fit my body.
That's definitely something that I can associate with. See, what it comes down to is a lot of times we've heard of the term body dysmorphic disorder, and we just say, oh, that's an anorexia or eating disorder. Well, actually, it's a separate disorder in itself. It's under the subtype of obsessive compulsive disorder. So body dysmorphic, the ducks are like, oh, that's funny. It's not funny, man, if you have a body dysmorphic disorder, it's not funny. No, but what it is you can develop it. What is super interesting, see, I get people asking me, do you see other people differently than yourself? Is that what that is? No. Body dysmorphic disorder for me personally, and my understanding is, I don't look at Rod and go, oh my gosh, she needs to lose weight. That doesn't happen in my head. What happens is I see Rod accurately, I see others accurately. And the connection isn't very good, I think. But the thing is I don't see myself accurately. What I mean by that is there are times when I will, let's say I'm in front of a mirrored, like front of a building, and it reflects, right? If I look over and I see the body, I'll be like, oh my gosh, she's so skinny. And the second I recognize it as me, I'm like, oh no, that distortion takes place. And what's amazing is body dysmorphic disorder, it has a neurological basis. And what's happened is that UCLA found that the body dysmorphic disorder could be processing in the visual cortex. And what that means is when an image is shown in front of a person, it takes as fast as 1/10 of a second for the brain to distort it. It's actually proven in that your brain sees it differently. That's what body dysmorphic disorder is like. And I'll be honest, I had a moment today where I was...
That's what I was going to ask you. How often does that happen, and how recent?
As early as today it happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. I look this way, and then I get caught in that negative self-talk and distortion. So what I do is, now that I'm aware of it, I consciously talk myself through it. It's like, Rachel, you've been very thin for very long. Your health has suffered. This is a disease. You're not going to see it accurately. And so it's almost like having beer goggles, you know, like when you, like I have Ed goggles. I don't see myself accurately. So what I do is I have to remind myself, I have a tendency to compare what I used to look like too. And I'm going, oh, I'm not as bad as I used to be. Well, that doesn't make it any better. Being as bad, not as bad, does not make it better. I still am not at a healthy state. And anorexia, as you know, I do not glamorize. Not ever do I glamorize this. This is not a glamorous condition. And anyone who supports that idea needs to not have the attention. Do not listen to them. Even celebrities and many famous people are coming out saying how awful it is. And like we've talked about, it's the most complicated disease. Rod, what do you notice what happens to me when I get dysmorphic? What do you notice in me that happens?
Well, I mean, I know that you usually try to coach yourself down by using logic, and you try to like, these are the reasons why what I'm saying is not true, even though you may feel a certain way, you know, and I usually try to come in and coach you a little bit down, but I'm not the best.
Yes,
but, you know.
Stop. You said something really significant. You said when I feel like. See, that takes the feeling is what gives it power.
Yeah, because it's an emotional situation as opposed to like a logical situation.
Right. I'll be like you've heard people say, I feel fat. Well, we know that fat is not a feeling, right? So I start to really elaborate on my emotional reactions and recognize them. Because if I don't recognize I'm being emotional, and not saying that there's anything wrong with being emotional, but I have to recognize that the logic isn't coming into play. When our emotions are up, or like anger or whatever, our logic goes down. Our prefrontal cortex changes.
We have a question, folks.
We have a question.
We have a question.
Yes, please ask questions.
We have a question.
This is what the point is. We want to answer your
from
question.
Not the One for You. She says, how often do you see your actual self versus your dysmorphia version?
Ooh.
How often does this happen?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, and thank you, Ashley, for that. Yeah. How I'm honest about mental health and the experience. Thank you for saying that, because that does take vulnerability. It's not easy to do, especially recovering in front of a camera with body dysmorphia and anorexia. But I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Oh, how often does it happen?
Oh, how often does it happen? Honestly, the dysmorphia is more often than not, but there are glimpses, and I'll give you an example. I went by a reflection earlier and I saw my legs and I went, oh my gosh, Rachel, you really got to put some weight on. You really do. And I was like, whoa, I've never talked to myself like that before, which was a win because I recognized that I looked too thin. That's a win for me. So I did have a win in today with that, but I do have that dysmorphia. So when I need not reassurance that I'm skinny, because there's something that we do with like OCD seeking assurance on something, or anorexia. I call it fishing, when you're fishing to stay stuck. And what I mean by fishing is like if I said to Rod, do I look like I'm losing weight? Am I looking skinnier? And if he says, yeah, I'm satisfying the eating disorder, if that makes sense.
But there's also, like what I used to say and do now is, I don't feel comfortable answering that question. And that's basically the only thing you could or need to say in order to, because I don't want to enable your emotion in a negative way.
Or the eating disorder.
What do you feel is your like trajectory? I know there's always back pedals and relapse going on, then you move forward. But would you say your projection is
trajectory?
Trajectory is in a good good position?
Oh, for sure. That's
And
actually.
in what areas too? Because I know
Okay.
I've had people that ask me these questions.
I get. Let me just say, when you know that part when you're waking up, where you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep, that kind of hazy part. I woke up feeling scared in that part where I wasn't quite awake and I wasn't quite asleep. What was the fear from? It was the fear of not living my life and being confined in this way. So those things didn't happen before, where I'm actually like, oh, I need to recover. I mean, there's some life left to live, and I'm having more of an urgency to do so. So that has helped. So psychologically, I feel that I'm making, well, not I feel, I know I'm making great strides psychologically. The part that I haven't made as great of strides recently is the physical. Physically, I'm right now, I have a hyperthyroid going on too. So physically, I'm not doing as well as I would like to be doing, but I'm actually really pretty strong in like getting physically strong, but not making the gains I need to make. But psychologically, I am. And that, for me, if I get that psychological component down, the rest will follow, because I'm wanting to get better. I get hesitant at times, but I do want to move forward and get better because I really want to help.
So, Jessica, did that answer your question? Because that was the next question.
What?
And you just segued into
What was
talking
it?
about.
I didn't even
well,
know.
your it's a building block until you get to where your weight is gaining or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just, a lot of it's an emotional and psychological battles to overcome.
Honestly, it's mostly
and
that.
she said from the first video of Rob with a B.
Rod, D. I know
Jess.
everybody calls him Rob.
Jess.
Yeah.
Asking for help until now, has your weight gained?
Oh
How
yeah.
much
Yeah. I've gained since my worst weight.
She realizes
Absolutely.
it's been a long journey. It's a long journey.
It's a long journey of going up and down and back and forth. And you know what was most stressful was when I was putting on weight too fast, where my brain couldn't handle it, and neither could my body. So it was really, 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 really hard. And it's the thing is with anorexia, and I know that there are other people out there who don't see the dysmorphia, like you were saying, that there are people who have a lot of fame and glamour, appearing to be glamorous. But you know what? The part that gets me, and there's a specific person that comes up a lot, and she knows who I am, and I know who she is. But here's my problem, guys. Following somebody who's perpetuating anorexia and not condemning it is dangerous. So people have reached out to me saying, why don't you go help her? How can you help someone who doesn't want to talk about it? They have to be willing and at least acknowledge it. And that's the whole point. And I actually really am upset that this person has so much fame, because they're bringing a lot of people down with them, and that's blood on someone's hands. You know what I mean? Glamorizing a mental illness like that, that's sick. That's really sick. And people have asked me, what should I do? Stop following that person, because you're enabling it. What's the difference between her and me? I'm in it for recovery. I know that I have a problem. I want you guys to join the conversation so we all get better. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, anorexia, I'm not anorexic. I eat a leaf. I eat this. No. This disease is awful. It's so complicated.
It takes your life away, that's for sure.
And the lives of your loved ones.
So much sacrifice and so much memories lost and whatnot, and we're just trying to restore finally,
I'm not condemning her or that person, but there are people around that enable, and if we follow that, then we're enabling. So I ask you, please, to save someone's life who is not capable of making that difference, and the fame can actually make it much worse. So please do not follow someone who glamorizes an eating disorder. I can't say this enough. Unfollow that person. Not out of meanness, not at all. I have such great empathy. But out of kindness, please don't follow that person or people who glamorize this, because you're keeping them sick. So that was one of the messages that I wanted to say today, and how body dysmorphia is so misunderstood. It's a brain problem. It's a neurological problem. It can happen in the higher functioning of learning, or of the brain, but it also happens in the visual cortex, where you don't see yourself correctly. So I know that when I am not doing good, I have to ask God, am I getting stronger? That's the question I go to right now.
This little geese is getting ready to attack Rachel's hair.
Oh my
Can
goodness.
you see him? Just a quick shot. Oh, he's right behind you.
What's
There's another
that?
one.
See?
Look there.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's the hair.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
doesn't you fall.
Look at that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted, but
So,
geese is 2 feet from her hair.
one time this bird saw my hair and it attacked me 2 days in a row, trying to they wanted to bling up its
The nest.
bling up its nest. It's so funny.
What is
So I just want you guys to know, and big hugs to all of you. I love you, love you, love you. So we're gonna do some more of these videos where you guys ask the questions. I'm an open book.
Comment below.
Uh-oh.
Happened.
Oh, there we went. We went in
Comment
and out.
below if you didn't see that.
Please comment below, and we'll
Answer
get a better
questions next time.
connection. Please ask. What is on your mind? Please ask. I'm an open book. I want to really advocate for you. So, okay, this connection's really sucking. All right, we love you. Poop unicorns and crap rainbows.
Oh, don't show them that. Don't show them that. That's disgusting.
I gotta show it. Look at that. Poop it. Poop it up. So I love you, and when I say flip it, that means love yourself too. Like I'm learning. I love you guys.